Okay, when last we met, this bike was the center of the party. It went for a little ride and it ran great. And we rode it up and down the hill out there, and it did great. And like the next day or maybe the next week, I can't remember which, I took this little beauty out on a 30-mile loop, and it ran awesome. I went up and did some of the other stuff that we did and that we've done previous, and it ran great. And I had no issues at all. And I did have there was a couple things that I noticed on the ride that I wanted to address. So I addressed them. One of those issues was the rattling metal skid plate. Well, I put a couple of rubber pieces on there and to tighten it up a little bit and to remove the vibration a little bit. And I thought that would solve the problem. That wasn't a real big issue, but thought we'd address that. And when I was doing the ride, it would not hold a constant speed real well. Slow speeds. And so I thought, well, maybe it's a little bit of a carburation issue. Let's drop the needle a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit too rich. So I did that, and I didn't really think too much of it. And I said, well, okay. After I finished all that, I didn't even start it. And this was about maybe a month ago. And so what I did was I came out here and figured I'm going, yeah, I better start this thing and run it and just ride it around a little bit and see how things are going. And I spent this was like one evening, and I spent about 45 minutes or so kicking it. And the thing would not fire. And I thought, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired, and because it'd been a long day, and maybe that's it. And I didn't really worry about that. And then, so another day, I came out here, and Chris wanted to go over to look at a trials competition. And I thought, wow, it's a perfectly good reason to take the 620. Well, I went and I spent probably an hour and a half trying to fire it, and it would not fire. And so we started checking spark and fuel, and the plugs were wet, or the plug, there's only one, was wet, so I changed that. And then started doing some more investigation about spark, and lo and behold, there's no spark. Well, there was spark before. Why isn't there spark now? So I started doing some connection issues, checking some stuff, and everything, all the connections look good. Started getting into a little bit more of exactly what the coil is, and did some research, and this is the coil right here, and this is the coil output. What I found out is that this coil is not only the coil, but it is a coil and the control module, the CDI module for the coil. So it's all packed into one. Newer bikes and newer quads and whatever, they have usually a separate module for that situation, but this particular bike and the way they set this up, it did not. So it's all in one. So I'm sorry to suspect that. And then started looking at the stator, which lives in here. And this stator, what I found out, let's see if I can get this thing out with one hand here, is right down here. right down in here is this stator. And what I'm doing some research, and what I found out is that this little guy can be problematic. So I started doing some more research and found some test connections to test the resistance of those coils in the stator. And the wires for those are right here. And lo and behold, did some tests on it and found out that the pickup coil is way out of spec. So I went and I purchased a new stator. It's a replacement, as the company that build those, it's called a company called SEM. They're out of Sweden. They no longer make these. They haven't made them for quite a while. You can buy them used, but if you look on forums and so forth, they are problematic. The windings, the coating on the wires of the windings breaks down and causes issues. They can fail. So what I'm going to do is swap out that stator and see if that's going to solve the problem. See if you can't get this thing running again. All right. Well, I had to take a few extra pieces out, like these oil lines. I had to take the one out of here, and this one over here. This one that goes from here all the way down to here, I had to take out completely and plugged them with some earplugs. Those foam earplugs, I guess it's another useful tip. Keep the oil from flowing out. And I was able to snake the wires out from under here, and pulled them out from around here, and they came right out. So now I've got the whole mechanism here, actually the electrical parts, and I took the original stator out. There it is right there. And this is the replacement, and it seems to fit fairly well, although I can't seem to get this, it keys on this ring right here. And this ring versus this here, and this one here has the same deal. It fits on this one, but it's a little tight on this one, so it won't go down all the way. So I'm going to have to manipulate this a little bit. Thinking about just using a little sandpaper or a little emery cloth and lowering this this rim just a touch, and we'll see if we can't get this thing together. All right. Okay, we're back. Finally got this thing seated properly and in its place. Got the seal was cut, and I had to put a little spacer in here, as it was this harness is a little bit narrower than this one, so it doesn't seal as well, and I'm not going to take this one off. And now my next thing is trying to meet up these wires with what's on the bike. And a previous owner had put these Deutsch connectors on, which are fine. I don't have an issue with them, but this stuff came with, this thing came with these connectors, and I don't really want to modify this harness if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off these connectors here and here and put on connectors to mate to this, so that this thing will plug directly into the bike. I think this also, being this way, will make it a little easier to snake this wiring up, down in, up and through here, and in on the other side, so that we can get it up through this clamp here, and then plug. Things should plug in fine. We'll just we'll have to make sure, and I think I'm gonna have to reroute some of this stuff. This may have to go over to the other side as well, because the previous one had a split harness where these two split, the ignition and the power, and I could run them on either side. This one I cannot, so we'll see. All right, well, we got her installed. We got the stator all put in. The connections aren't real clean right now, but I did do something. I wasn't able to show it because I'm only one and it's dark and it's hard to see, but I did kick it over, and without a plug in the barrel, and I just put a ground strap on the plug, and we do have a good spark, so I'm pretty confident we're going to get this thing to run here shortly. And I just have to button things up, and then we may be firing it off here. All right, well, she's all buttoned up, and I'm going to give her a go. See if she wants to run. And since Chris isn't here, I'm going to have to do this solo. All right. Nope, not that time. Where did these go? Got it. She's running. Sounds like it's running pretty good. I'm gonna go take her for a rip right now and see what she can do. Talk to you later.